Welcome to Building Blocks Introduction to the Business Model Canvas. Thanks for joining us. Before we get started, Building Blocks Introduction. Building Blocks is a global nonprofit launchpad for youths to dream bigger through social entrepreneurship, AI, and design thinking. It was founded by two Columbia alums, Irene and Justice. We provide a sandbox for youths to tinker, build, and experiment in a global community of peers and mentors. We believe in hands-on experiential learning where failure and iteration are encouraged. To date, we've been in 5 countries working with more than 350 youths, and we're so excited to welcome you to our community. For more information, check out our website. In this lesson, we'll cover 3 parts. What is a business model canvas, also abbreviated as BMC? What are some examples of BMC in action? And what are best practices for creating and using a BMC? As members of the Building Blocks community and experience, we invite all of our community members to create a business model canvas for the social issue and solution that you'll be working on. Let's get started. What is a business model canvas? At its core, this is what a BMC looks like. Here, we encourage you to pause the video and guess each of the components of the BMC and what they may mean. It's even better if you write out your guesses, and it's totally fine if these seem unfamiliar to you. Take your best guess. Now that you have a preview, let's look at the definition. A BMC is an internal tool to help startups describe and design the different elements of your business. This helps document and refine the most important aspects of your startup. These are the questions behind each of the BMC components that we've looked at before. Here, feel free to pause and read through some of the definitions. For each component, we'll go in depth with an example, so don't feel overwhelmed. Note any questions you may have where your guesses were right and may have been different. Now, we'll go through an example with the Apple iPhone business. Note that Apple has a big business with multiple product lines and services, but for this exercise, we'll focus on iPhones. Let's get started with the value proposition, which is one of the most important elements of a business model canvas. What values are you providing to your users? What are the pain points or challenges that you're solving for your users? For Apple, some of the value propositions are a high-quality mobile phone, an ability to connect with one another, feeling elevated in your day-to-day with its sleek designs, and the ability to connect with other Apple devices. Please note that these are starting points for Apple's many value propositions, and if you can brainstorm more, that's even better. Next, key activities. What will your business do to serve your users? For Apple's iPhones, it's developing the product along with marketing the product and making the actual iPhones and distributing it, whether it be in Apple stores, online, or to its cell phone providers such as Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. For key resources, the related question is, what does your business need in order to develop your key products or services? Again, for the iPhone, it could be materials for the mobile phone. It could also be intellectual property, such as different operations and patented designs that are unique and protected legally for Apple's iPhones. Next up is our key partner. Which organizations, institutions, or individuals will your business partner with? Especially because we're a startup, which means that we are early in our process, key partners are really important to make sure that you have the right growth, the audience, the resources that you need. For Apple's key partners, some of them include manufacturing partners, those who actually create the iPhones. It could also be cell phone carriers that promotes and sells iPhones, such as we've mentioned before, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, etc. Finally, it could also be corporations and institutions that uses iPhones in bulk. As you can see here, there are so many different partners that you can work with in order to scale your business. Customer relationships. How will you maintain positive relationships with customers? For Apple, this can include customer support options within stores, within their website, or through dialing a phone number. There's also the option for Apple Care in case of damaged iPhones. Sales channels are how will you sell your products and or services? How will you raise awareness? And how will customers buy your products and services? If you have a guess for Apple's iPhones, the awareness sales channels include other people or word of mouth, ads and marketing, which Apple is really known for, and finally, the presence of physical stores that you can walk across as a pedestrian and notice all the products that Apple is currently selling. With respect to actual sales, you can purchase iPhones at physical stores, through resellers, and through other companies. The customer segment looks at who is your customer and who is your ideal customer profile. Here, it's really important to be really specific. The customers may not always be your users, as your users may not always have quote unquote purchasing power. Here, the key component of any startup is to make sure that you have a really good understanding of your customers. As early businesses, we have very limited resources, so it's really important to think about what small segment will you tackle first in terms of customers and then expand from there. Apple's customer segments are individuals who are medium to high income, generally in their 20s to their 70s. The actual users of iPhones may be younger, but they may often not be the ones to purchase the iPhones on their own. They are probably an early adopter of tech and enjoy other Apple products and high quality designs that Apple is known for. Please note here, customer segment can be done in a variety of different ways, and this is just one example. Cost structure. What are the costs? Fixed costs are costs that don't change with how many units of iPhones are produced. For example, equipment. Variable costs change according to how many units are produced, so material costs. For the iPhone example, for the costs that don't change, it could be cost for Apple store locations or ads and marketing. For variable costs, this can include material costs of producing Apple iPhones. Revenue streams. Although we are a social entrepreneurship venture, we have to make money. Two typical routes that we focus on are business to business or selling to businesses, or selling to consumers, also known as business to consumers or B2C. Please note that you can have both revenue streams as a part of your startup. So, back to the iPhone example, Apple can sell large quantities of iPhones to companies. Or, like many of us individual consumers, Apple can sell products. They also sell subscription services such as Apple Music, or they get a percentage of what you as a user pay for in the Apple Store. Now, try it on your own with Tom's Shoes. In the previous video, we've covered Tom's Shoes as an example of social entrepreneurship. As a quick refresher, this is a shoe business, so they make and sell shoes. And for the purpose of this exercise, let's look at the buy one, donate one model. Feel free to pause the video here. Or this is a refresher on all the different questions we've covered and the different components of the business model canvas. Now, we'll go over the business model canvas of Tom's rather quickly. Note that the lighter shade of green denotes the elements that are unique to social entrepreneurship. So, for value proposition, we have high quality shoes that are for a good cause. The key activities of Tom's is making, marketing, and selling shoes, but it's also donating shoes. The key partners may include manufacturers, shoe stores, department stores, advertisers and branding, website developers, and so many more partners. But a key component of the social entrepreneurship portion are organizations that Tom's donates shoes to. Finally, an example of key resource for Tom's would be materials to create the shoes. Next up, we have customer relationships. So Tom's has also physical locations, but they also sell their stores through websites, and customer support is available for both means. The sales channels could be department stores, general shoe stores, and the website. The customer segment could be individuals from ages 20 plus to 50 plus, sorry about the typo, but it can also include individual consumers who are interested in a social cause and of course enjoys comfortable shoes. The cost structures are noted here in terms of fixed costs and variable costs, and the revenue streams primarily come from shoe sales. Now, let's look at best practices for creating your own BMC. First, be as specific as possible. The more specific you are, helps you think critically about the problem, your users, and the solution that you are brainstorming for. Second, don't be afraid to get feedback. You don't have to be perfect before getting feedback, and it'll open up more avenues for you to explore in terms of your solution and how you're thinking about the problem. Third, make it your own. You get out of this experience what you put in, and the more rigorously you think about this, the more learnings that you'll take away. And finally, get inspired by others. Feel free to use some of the components that we've covered for the Apple iPhones example and the Tom's example to be inspired by what business model canvas may work best for your purposes. And that's a wrap. In terms of next steps, feel free to check out our other videos and our resource libraries. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at team.buildlabs@gmail.com. Thank you.